Hello, everybody. I was trying to figure out creative ways to keep you occupied on Wednesday, November 2nd. But the truth of the matter is, all the YouTube videos I found and all the little documents and textbook assignments just took too much work to put it together. So, what I decided to do was just go ahead, make a video, and give you the information that you would need for your notes. So, just pretend I was there. So here's the basic idea. What I want you to do is to take out your notes wherever you take your notes. If you take them electronically, you're probably going to need to set your screen up so either you just hear me in the background or you can just split screen it so that you can type your notes while you're watching me on the video. There is a copy of the outline for you to use as a reference that you can find under Module 10. And this is the overview of Unit 3 notes. So it gives you a basic outline of everything I'm about to go over. So if you want to split the screen, do whatever you need to do to get set up. While you're doing the setup, if you want to watch this with somebody, I just ask that you keep the volume relatively low so that other people aren't distracted. If you have headphones and you want to pop them in, by all means, do that. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and start this lecture. And remember, if you need to stop this lecture for yourself, if you need to back yourself up, you do what you need to do. This lecture should take me about 20 minutes in total time. So let's go ahead and start into the outline. So right now you're looking at your blank piece of paper, and at the very top in the middle in big letters, I want you to write down Unit 3, Land-Based Empires, 1450 to 1750. So this marks us going into a new unit and a new time period. So we're going to look at land-based empires for this unit between the period of 1450 to 1750. Nice and easy. So Roman numeral 1 is today's lecture. And today's lecture is just an overview of the unit. So put down Roman numeral 1 at the top and then go overview of Unit 3. Nice and simple. So let's start with letter A, the name of the empires. So there's basically 7 different empires, central governments, the names can change, that we're going to take a look at in this unit. Some of these we're going to look at very quickly, others we're going to take a couple days with. Depends on which ones have more coverage on the AP exam, to be honest with you. So the first thing, let's go through the empires. So letter A, Afro-Eurasian empires, 1450 to 1750. And all we're going to do is identify where they are and what their name is. So number 1, so if you can picture, I'm going to kind of do this mirror image of you, but if we imagine that Africa is over here, and we imagine that Japan is all the way over here, so Afro-Eurasia, we're going to start in the Middle East, in what is today Turkey, Southeast Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. We're going to have an empire there called the Ottoman Empire. So number 1, Ottoman Empire, Ottoman, and that's in the Middle East region, what is today Turkey, Southeast Europe, and North Africa, as well as the Middle East. That's the Ottoman Empire. It builds right on top of those Turkish empires that we've talked about, like the Seljuks, and the Islamic caliphates like the Abbasid and the Umayyad that we also have mentioned. Now, if we go right next door, and I know that this differs from the outline I posted on the page, we'll fix that. So if you go over, we get the Persian Empire of the Safavid, Safavid, the Safavid dynasty. So that is what is in Persia, so it's right next to the Ottoman Empire, and it's in what is today Iran, essentially, or Iran. And then if we go over even more, we get to South Asia. We get into what is today Pakistan and India. And in that region, we're going to have the Mughal Empire, Mughal. So I know I'm going a little fast. This is because it's my 3rd attempt at a recording and I'm getting awfully tired. So to kind of review, letter A, names of empires. Number 1, Ottoman Empire, Middle East, North Africa, Turkey, Southeast Europe. Number 2, Safavid dynasty, Safavid dynasty, and then dash Persia, comma, Iran. Number 3, the Mughal Empire, Mughal Empire. That's going to be in South Asia, what is today Pakistan and India. Now, for our 4th empire, we'll just keep going east. We go into China. Now, with China, we're going to get 2 dynasties. If you remember, China is governed by dynasties. We've learned about the Song dynasty. Then we went on to the Yuan dynasty, which is the Mongols. Now we're going to get 2 more. They are the Ming, M-I-N-G, from 1368 to 1644, and the Qing, Q-I-N-G, 1644 to 1911. One more time, in case you don't want to hit pause. We've got the Ming from 1368 to 1644, and the Qing from 1644 to 1911. Now, one thing about the Qing, we can also call them the Manchu dynasty. We'll talk about why later, but for right now, Manchu, Qing, interchangeable. Okay, now we're going to go one step further east, and we're going to get to Japan. So this is number 5. Japan is going to be ruled by the Tokugawa shogunate. Tokugawa, Tokugawa. And then the shogunate is the form of government, Shogunate. So shogun, Shogun, 8, ATE. So we've got Japan and the Tokugawa shogunate. Now we're going to hop all the way back to Africa. And I know my map is looking at me, not necessarily at you. And in Africa, we're going to go to West Africa, where the Mali Empire once was. The Mali Empire has been replaced at this point by the Songhai Empire, Songhay, the Songhai Empire. Now we're going to go up to the northern part of Asia. And there's going to be a big empire that stretches across the northern part of Asia, through much of Asia, and that's called Russia. That's all you really need to know. Russia's in Russia. So those are your 7 basic empires, okay? We've got number 1, the Ottomans. Number 2, the Safavid. Number 3, the Mughals. Number 4, we've got the Ming and the Qing in China. Number 5, we have the Tokugawa shogunate in Japan. Number 6, we have the Songhai Empire in West Africa. And then number 7, we got Russia running across all of Asia. So that's the first thing. And if you want, you can take a quick pause here, take a look on the page that has the outline, and I posted a nice little map that will give you a good representation of where everything is. So now let's go on to letter B. B, C, and D are all going to be generalizations about these empires. So this is the commonalities that we want to look at. So letter B, all of these empires, except for the Songhai, expand because of gunpowder weapons. So all of those empires that I just listed, they're expanding during 1450 to 1750, and their expansion is based on military superiority, and all but the Songhai have access to gunpowder weapons. So your generalization, if you're going, what do I write down for letter B? Letter B, what you would write down is that empires expand because of gunpowder technology. It's really quite simple. So let's just give some general ideas about gunpowder, and then we'll move on to the next one. So the first thing, which would be your number 1, is how does gunpowder get out of China to the rest of Afro-Eurasia, or actually the rest of Eurasia? And the answer should come as no surprise: interregional trade networks. The Silk Road, which connected China to the rest of Eurasia, is also going to facilitate the spread of this knowledge of gunpowder. When the invention of gunpowder took place, plenty of Chinese governments realized the weapon application. The Song dynasty used gunpowder for weaponry, and they closely guarded the recipe for gunpowder. And yet, no matter how hard they tried to keep it in China, it expanded throughout the trade networks and eventually made its way into the Middle East and into the Islamic world and into Europe. By the 1300s, all of Eurasia had some type of access to gunpowder technology. Now, the second thing we want to put down, so this is number 2 under letter B, is what role the Mongols play. And of course, the Mongols are going to integrate much of Eurasia together through their conquests. And that's going to facilitate the spread of technology. So that's one way. The Mongols facilitate the spread of technology, like gunpowder, through their conquests and their integration of the regions. But the second way is that weapon development grows because of the Mongols. The Mongols are attacking. You want to pull out better weapons to defend yourself. We're going to have military innovation. And then the Mongols will see gunpowder at work, and they'll start adopting that technology, which leads to the further spread of it. So the Mongols are going to play a role in the spread of gunpowder throughout Eurasia. So the third thing that goes on letter B is that these land-based empires spread because of gunpowder. They had militaries that utilized gunpowder as primary weapons, and that gave their military an edge over other militaries. And we're going to focus on 4 empires when we look at this later: the Ottomans, the Safavid, the Mughal, and the Qing. So I'll say that one more time. The Ottomans in the Middle East, the Safavid in Persia, the Mughals in South Asia, and the Qing in China. All 4 of those empires are going to use cannons and other gunpowder weapons to expand their empire's borders. Nice and easy. And then the fourth thing is that as these states are expanding, they're going to come into conflict with each other. And we're going to create rivalries with one another that's going to promote wars between these empires. And again, these are generalizations that we're making at the moment. We will get into more specifics as we go along. All right, now we're on to letter C. All these empires develop bureaucracies in order to succeed. So again, I'll say that as a generalization. All 3 of these empires incorporate bureaucracies into their success. So the first thing, we go to number 1. What are the 3 purposes of bureaucracies? 1, bureaucracies expand the control of the central state. So all governments have a central power. That central power uses bureaucracies to expand its control over larger areas of land. The second purpose of the bureaucracy is to standardize laws, rules, and regulations and make sure everybody's following the same thing. So what they're doing is they're standardizing legal behavior, they're putting out economic rules, they're putting out tax regulations, and these rules are expanding over a large region. You need a bureaucracy to oversee that. And then the third, and probably the most important purpose of bureaucracy, is to collect tax revenue for the central government. So once again, the bureaucracy serve 3 purposes: to expand the power of the state, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I just completely blanked and I don't want to redo this video. Hold it. To create common rules that everybody will follow. You probably said that before I did. And to collect tax revenue. The second thing that happens is that these empires, along with creating centralized bureaucracies, they're going to create imperial professional armies, which are an extension of a bureaucracy. They're going to employ professional soldiers that they pay and equip and train, and they're going to use these soldiers to expand the central power. These soldiers are going to be loyal to the central authority. The third thing is that bureaucracies are going to collect revenues, and these governments are going to get much more efficient at collecting revenue from local sources. And revenue is important because it supports the government. It allows the government to buy the equipment for the army, to provide training, to build government buildings. Money is the backbone of all these empires. So they have to collect it through different systems of tax revenue. And then finally, religion, art, and architecture. So I'll say those 3 one more time. So now we're on to number 4. Religion, art, and architecture are going to be used by all these governments to promote their power and to legitimize their authority. So by building big monumental architecture or palaces or mosques or things of that nature, the government is showing off its power. By patronizing art, the government is promoting itself as good and effective. And by promoting religion, government is legitimizing their authority by connecting them to whatever religion the people are. So, just a quick review. Governments, this is letter C, empires use bureaucracies to maintain control. I want you to understand the purpose of the bureaucracy. I want you to understand how the creation of imperial armies strengthen the government. I want you to understand why collection of revenue is important. And then finally, why they use art, architecture, and religion as a way of legitimizing their power. Our final letter is going to be letter D. All of these empires are closely integrated with belief systems. In other words, religion plays a big role in all of these empires. So that's going to bring us to 3 points. The first point, number 1, under letter D, is that Islam is going to be a continuity of these empires. The Ottomans, the Safavid, the Mughals, and the Songhai in West Africa will be dominated by the Islamic faith. But if you think about it, these 4 empires, they're just continuing something that already existed. The Songhai is a West African Islamic empire, just like the Mali Empire was before it. The Ottoman Empire is an Islamic-based empire, just like the Umayyad and the Abbasid caliphates were before it. So the idea is that Islam continues to be a presence within these empires that are emerging in 1450 to 1750. Second, we're going to get new faiths created because we have an interaction of different groups of people. And again, we'll talk about the details later. And then the third thing is that some religions are going to undergo major change, and we're going to see that with Christianity. So that's the basic outline of the overview of Unit 3. To recap, at the beginning of this, we talked about the specific land-based empires. So if you look back over letter A, you should have 7 empires listed. You should have their geographical locations next to it. And we should get to a point where we can just rattle them off. Ottoman, Safavid, Mughal, Qing/Ming, Ming/Qing China, Tokugawa Shogunate, Songhai Africa, and Russia. And that's what we want to be able to do. And we want to talk about each of those 7 and see how 3 commonalities work. So the first commonality, which is letter B, is the role gunpowder plays in the expansion of these land-based empires. Letter C is the role that bureaucracies play in strengthening the central government of these empires. And then letter D focused on how these empires incorporated faith systems to increase their power and to increase their connections to the people. So what we're going to be doing starting on Thursday is taking a look at each of these kingdoms one after another. We want to keep coming back to those themes. How did they militarily expand? How did they use bureaucracy? How did they incorporate belief systems? And we're going to be constantly playing on those similar themes. Now that the lecture is done, what I would like you to do is just make sure your notes are all together. And then I want you to go back to Module 10, and I want you to take the quiz. You can use your notes for the quiz, obviously. You can talk with each other about the quiz. But please realize that the quiz locks at the end of class today. So make sure you take your time to do that now. You should have about 15 minutes, and you should only need about 5 to do this. So thank you very much for paying attention to the lecture. I'll see you again real soon. All the best. Bye.